Yo, alright. That's not good. I got 70 views on my last video. That's a lot of people watching. I can't imagine like 70 people standing here while I'm giving a talk about Grados and shit. I don't know. It was awesome. It's so cool. Like, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for liking and commenting. Let's get this video to 71 views and blow me away. Today, I wanted to talk about cassette tapes. These guys, yeah. Really quick, I know not everyone may know or are familiar with cassette tape. So they come in this like plastic shell, and then you actually open it like this, and inside it's kind of a funky little container. You know what I mean? Like you can go like this. Do you remember? Anyone remember like those old school like life hack videos? This used to be a thing. Like people were like, take one of these and make a phone stand. Don't lie, you did that. And then inside there's what's called a J card, and similar to maybe like a CD insert or a vinyl record insert, like sometimes they'll have, on this particular case we have like lyrics on one side and then sort of like a pull-out poster on this side with credits, and I'll show you a cool one that I have. So this is Rollins' band, Henry Rollins, The End of Silence, and this resembles that J we were talking about, so that's why they're called J cards. So in the J card, you have on the inside, you have all the lyrics, right? But on the outside, check out all these pictures of the band, and at the end they have this really cool live shot of them thanking their fans and just a bunch of people, and I thought that was awesome. So really well done. I think people don't really collect tapes like as much. I see them going for pennies on the dollar, not only on eBay but also at like thrift stores and stuff. They go for really cheap, and it blows me away because there's like, you know, think about it. If you collect CDs, you're probably doing it for the audio quality, but if you collect CDs, you're also getting the CD itself, the outer case, and then the artwork. And you're paying, sometimes there's like $5 or $10, but for tapes, they give them away basically for free, and inside there's the case, the actual music itself, and the artwork. So it's a pretty good deal. So that's a CD, like we were talking about. It's got the case, CD itself, and then all the artwork. So in this particular case, Aerosmith Live. This album rules, man. I don't care who you are. This album rules. All right. So a little bit bigger, but still has like the artwork and all that shit. It's awesome. And you get like, I don't know, I think a huge part about collecting music is the actual, like what you get with it, you know? I think that if vinyl records just came in like a plastic bag, not as many people would collect them. But for the sake of this video, CDs you'll definitely get better audio quality with. There's higher dynamic range, just a lot more data on this than this. If you were doing CDs versus reel-to-reel, now that's something that I would fucking watch. I don't know. So basically, the tape on a cassette tape right here, the actual tape itself, it's very thin. Can you see? So all this clear stuff is just the shell, but this black portion in the middle is actually the tape. It's black on some, and then it's like also this coffee-colored brown on others. There's also Type 2 and Type 3, which sound really good, but usually all commercial tapes like this are either Type 1 or Type 2. I'll put some links in the description for comparing the types. I think it's good to get familiar with those. Most tapes like these that you could like record your own are usually Type 1. On these tapes, literally on the tapes themselves, you know, they'll take the master tape and then they'll record them onto cassette tape. So if you're putting a little bit of data on a lot of tape, that's really good. But cassette tapes are kind of like a lot of data on a little bit of tape, whereas reel-to-reel is like thick tape, it's long tape. So that when they're putting a lot of data, I mean, you know, like a song, a lot of data onto a lot of tape, it sounds really good. When you're putting a lot of data onto a little bit of tape, it doesn't sound as great. Basically, a CD is just copying the entire analog signal digitally. It sounds really good, honestly. And just something to note, when people say that CDs sound good, at least in my opinion, they're not talking about CDs themselves. Like, this CD doesn't sound better than like another CD. There's no like super CDs. Well, there's something called super CDs, but it's actually the files that are on the CD. I just thought that would make that clear. So it's the files that are on the CD, but it's actually the tape itself. Like you can plug this into a computer and take out the digital files. You cannot do the same thing with a cassette tape. Something like this is each song individually, you know, stored on the CD itself. So when you usually, like, you can just take a CD and throw it right in your computer and extract those files. You need something like Exact Audio Copy, which is a freaking amazing piece of software. So like I said, The medium doesn't really matter as much. Like, you can probably just take all these songs, throw them on a flash drive, they're gonna sound the exact same. This album, Super Unknown by Soundgarden, if you took that and played it like on a vinyl record, that's gonna sound different than it does on a cassette tape than it does on a reel-to-reel, because the format actually matters. So something like a CD, something like streaming, like the format doesn't really matter. It's just the file is there. So then everything layers down after that. It's not the same with these. Like I said, the music is actually literally on this tape. That has nothing to do with the player itself. How do cassette tapes sound? Now, I'm sure everyone and their mother saw Techmoan's video. The basic premise behind his video was that a lot of people would take something like these Maxwell tapes. I got this, I think my dad gave these to me, but you can find them at like Goodwill all over the place. Even like some Rite Aid still sell these. People would take these like horrible tapes. They're type 1. They're basically like the bottom of the barrel of tapes. Like, think about, like, if you're looking at audio files, like, think of these as like low quality, lossy MP3 files. Blank, though. And you can only record lossy, shitty, like 120-bit MP3s. Like, think of that as this. It's just low quality stuff. And so they would take music from like the radio and record it onto these low quality tapes, and then play that back on like their car stereo that has like a really horrible sound system. And they'd be like, yeah man, tapes suck. And then as time progressed, they would like get a really new car and play like Bluetooth through Spotify, and they'd be like, this sounds so much better than tape. But in reality, what a lot of people don't really do, or they just don't know, is that tapes can actually sound surprisingly well, especially depending on the master. Like Primus, Sailing Seas of Cheese, one of my all-time favorite records. This album sounds spectacular, especially through a good quality tape deck. So this tape deck is a Denon model. I literally bought it today for $9.99 at a thrift store called Philly Aids. It's on South Street in Philadelphia. You should totally check it out if you're from the area. And it has Dolby B and C noise reduction. And noise reduction is basically like an XLR balanced audio connection, where it has a positive and negative signal. This is the balance cable. It has like a positive and negative signal, so that those channels will, if there's any noise, the one audio source is flipped, so that when there's any noise, they'll cancel each other out, and then you'll get a clean signal at the end. Dolby B sort of works in that same fashion, where if a tape is playing and there's hiss, the Dolby recognizes that hiss and then will actually reverse the hiss, so then you don't hear it anymore. And Dolby C does that same thing, but even better, and doesn't cut out a lot of the instruments. So if you have an album like this album and running it through Dolby C, it sounds actually really good. Like, surprisingly good. Like, I have it running through RCA out into my JDS Labs Atom amp in, because it has two inputs. It has XLR input and also, it has RCA input and also has auxiliary input. So I'm running from my tape deck into that amp through a good quality amp. These tapes literally, like, they do sound very good. I'm not bullshitting. Like, they actually do sound good. I'm going to be honest though, like something like this. So this is a Ozzy Osbourne, Randy Rhoads, like sort of like compilation disc, where they threw like 1,000 songs. Look at this. It was like just so much music onto such a small tape. And it's like it sounds terrible. It really does. It sounds horrible. So just like any sort of music that you're collecting, you need to recognize that a master tape has to be good, because if you have a really shitty master tape, like even on even if it's like a FLAC rip from someone's perfect vinyl collection, it's still gonna sound terrible. Masters really do matter. That's like one audio phooey thing that I actually believe in. Like, a good quality master really does make a difference. Also, speaking of audio phooey, I tried DSD the other night. I was literally blown away. I'm going to make a video about that soon. I can't wait to do a video about that. I got to do more testing, because maybe something was going on, but it sounded awesome. If you have good master tapes, which is the original source that the music came from, and then it's being copied to this, like obviously the Beatles didn't record onto cassette, they recorded onto, a lot of tracks onto a huge master tape. So if you have a good master tape, a good master recording on something like a tape, it's going to sound good going through a good tape deck. So think about it as like a vinyl record setup. Like, you need a good tone arm, you need a good stylus, you need a good cartridge. Sort of the same thing goes with collecting cassette tapes. Like, you need a good tape deck. You need it to have good heads on them. They use tape heads instead of like styluses or something. And then they also need clean outputs just like a vinyl record does. They need good cables just like a record player does. So if you kind of take the same amount of care that you do with vinyl records onto tape, you're going to get some awesome results. And that's something that definitely I was blown away by today. Like I said, I got this awesome tape deck, 3 heads, bias adjustment, HX Pro, MPX filter, Dolby BNC, and yeah, I'm definitely blown away by the sound of tapes. In the same setup that I have my vinyl records, I also have a tape deck, and playing tapes through there still sounds good, and that only has Dolby B reduction, but this Dolby C, it's actually really good, especially with something that utilizes it. So, yeah, man. The last thing I want to talk about with cassette tapes is that it definitely forces you to listen to an album all the way through. Like, I was just thinking, like, this is a Who record, and I haven't listened to this yet, but the record Tommy by the Who, it only has like 4 songs on the record. And when I was listening to it the other day, it's a really long record. Like it's like 20 something songs, but there's really only four main songs on that record. So, but there's a lot of like interludes. There's a lot of like this and that. It's a really good record, and you wouldn't really know that if you just like threw on like a Who playlist, So something that's gonna force you to listen through a record all the way through is definitely something that I'm on board with. Now, number 2, stuff like this. Now, this is a public service announcement. If anyone knows this band, please let me know, because this is seriously one of the greatest demo tapes I've ever heard. I found this at the same thrift store called Philly AIDS that sold me the tape deck. I found this at the same thrift store. It's red on the inside. It's got credits on the inside as well. If anyone knows any of these people or has any information, dude, let me know. Because seriously, this is one of the greatest pieces. This is one of the greatest pieces of music. That's the cool thing about cassette tapes. Like, they don't break. But, yeah, no, really, this is an awesome album. If I, wasn't collecting tapes, I wouldn't hear a lot of these records. Like today, I found this record by the band, and I remember Chad Smith and the Chili Peppers quoting a lot of stuff from the band, so I'm like, I'm gonna check this out. I'm not gonna go to like a record store on Tidal, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna really be attracted to the cover of a record on Tidal. Like, I usually do my research outside of Tidal and then go into Tidal and then search for the record. I don't really operate on that interface. I wouldn't really come across like this album in the wild on Tidal, especially since they only like promote hip hop. I wouldn't find this on Tidal. Like, I found this at a record store and I picked it up, and it sounds different. Like, it sounds like something that I wouldn't really try. Like, a lot of times with those music recommendations, they take like records that you already listen to religiously and then recommend you records that like are similar. If you listen to like Sublime, they're not going to recommend you this. They're not going to recommend you this random demo tape from some band that no one's ever heard of and there's no information about online. On Tidal, there's so many distractions. When you kind of get rid of all those distractions and you just throw on a cassette tape and just listen to it, just like people do with vinyl records, man, it can really change your view on music. So I definitely recommend anyone just try it. Just like forget all the hate that is centered around cassette tapes, and they look awesome. They're fun to collect, and they have a lot of stuff in them. And I really do think that if you give it an honest try and throw on the Dolby noise reduction and care about your gear and clean it, you'll get some good results, man. Try it. Why not? I don't know. I did it and I like it. Mixtapes. Everyone knows about mixtapes. You can make mixtapes, man. Share them with your friends if they actually listen to cassettes. But this is an album called Nausea. Extinction came out in 1993. They're a United States crust punk band from New York, and dude, this album kicks ass. It's one of like the coolest punk albums that I've ever heard, man. Technological, Johnny Got His Gun, Self Destruction, nothing but hits on here. This is a record that I actually own on vinyl, recorded right on the tape. Call it a day, man. Sounds great, and now I have a copy here because I don't really like to bring my records, upstairs, and I like to keep them in one spot and just listen to them there. So I do appreciate the fact that you can record on cassette tapes. Like I said, I don't do it that often. I'm not really the best person to talk about mixtapes. I don't really prefer playlists a lot. So I'm a huge advocate for like listening to albums all the way through, and I'm kind of weird about that, but I'm proud of it. Whatever. Last thing I want to mention is going back to this. I see so many like compilation best of albums on tape, and I don't know if they're all on vinyl. Like, is this album on vinyl? Let me know. I just see so many damn compilation albums on cassette. So if you're into compilations, two, if you're into mixtapes or recording your own music, and you can also record your own music directly onto tapes. You gotta check that out. That's awesome. And then lastly, if you're super into like artwork or collecting in general, try cassette tapes. They're really fun. They sound great. Like I said, you can make them sound great. You can make them sound really shitty. Play them on a horrible cassette tape. You know, plug them into a really bad cassette deck and see what happens. But no, really, if you want good audio quality, you can get them out of this. And I just have a lot of fun everywhere I go. Cassette tapes are about 25 cents to like $5. Seriously, from the same place that I got the tape deck, 25 cents. And sometimes they run like promo deals, so sometimes you'll get two for 25 cents. It's awesome. Yeah, man. Collecting cassette tapes has definitely like changed my appreciation for music, because at one point this is what all people had, and you had to play it on your record. I mean, play this on your record player. Play this at your stereo at home. Put it in your car. Bring it to friends' house. This is what you had, and definitely gives me like a greater appreciation. And like, this is what the Beatles look like to you, because when else would you see them? And this is all that you got. So, you just have to learn how to. I guess it's like another way of appreciating music, and any way that it's gonna make you appreciate music. Anyway, it's gonna make you listen to music all the way through, and then just another fun thing to collect for. Just, to me, is really awesome. Anyway, dude, thanks you guys so much for 70 views on the last video. It just like blows me away. Let's get to 71, man. That's the new thing. 71. Next video, maybe we get 72. That'd be sweet. Thank you for liking the video, and thank you for commenting. I hope to post this video on maybe like some forums and stuff. Maybe I can get like a wider exposure for collecting cassette tapes and why I personally do. Once again, they're a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun to like go out to random stores and collect them. Like, I went to a bookstore and they were selling cassette tapes used, and that's where I got this today. It was so cool. They're always like tucked away in the corner, or you always have to ask, and they're like, yeah, come in the back, and they like get their lantern, and like you gotta go all the way in the back, and like, here they are. So yeah, they're fun to collect for. They sound awesome. Like, they really blow me away. Seriously, it's like you're listening to like a reel-to-reel, but really small. So you still get that analog feel and that analog sound, but it's it's comparable. And I think that if you have realistic expectations, like you need to realize that this physically can't sound as good as a vinyl record. But if you have that expectation going in, like, you can really be blown away. Like, check out Techmoan's video, man. I'm gonna put that in the description. And then lastly, the artwork in them, the collectability, and then just the mixtape portion is like just so cool. How you can record on the tapes and stuff like that. And I've actually done some work where like I would record my cell phone drums and throw that from digital file onto the tape and then pop that into my stereo. And I don't know, there's something about that was really cool. It was just a fun experience. So yeah, man, check out tapes. Check out eBay if you have them. Facebook Marketplace. People be literally giving these things away. Like, I've never paid more than $5 for a tape, and that's something that is so cool. So I have like this massive tape collection all downstairs. If you guys want, I can take some pictures of my tapes. It's cheap. It's fun. The tape decks are just awesome pieces of technology. Really, Dolby B and Dolby C will forever blow my mind. And there's just a lot of fun to be had, even with the gear. Like, just tape decks alone, I know people who literally just collect vintage tape decks because they look awesome, everything about them, mechanical knobs and stuff like that. Like, this is a newer version. I recommend getting a newer tape deck. So it's going to have the features. It's going to be direct drive. You're not going to have to worry about replacing belts like that, belts and stuff like that. So, yeah, man, check it out. Check out cassette tapes. Check out my last video. Be sure to like this video. I really appreciate it. And my next video, I know one I'm going to have a special guest, and then one I'm going to do about collecting music as a whole and like what it means to me. And I'm going to talk about all types of music, like collecting CDs. I got some here. Like, I like to just take a few CDs at a time and listen to them rather than like buy like 1,000 of them and never touch them. So I like to do that. I'm going to talk more about cassette tapes. I got nothing but positive stuff to say about them, and vinyl records too. And maybe, who knows, one day I'll get into reel to reel. So yeah, man.